guys, and welcome to you here from sunny Florida, here at the Rosenin International. The I-4 behind us, pretty busy this morning. There's been a few accidents about. We are venturing back to Universal Studios, and today we're going to do something slightly different. As you can see, I'm wearing a retro t-shirt, and as we go around and we enjoy the rides, because we can't actually show you them unless you've got like a GoPro and you do POVs, etc., it's just basically talking anyway, so we might as well turn around and reminisce about what we remember from Universal, from the early days that we remember back in the 90s up till today. What rides were there, what rides have replaced them, and so on. Should be a good day. Let's go and do this. As much as we start off going under the Universal Bridge here, none of this existed back in the 90s. It was all boarded off, like you can see here. What used to be Cinnabon, it was just a sea of that all the way along. Island of Adventures did not exist. We went there for the first time in 1999. We were just about to be hit by Hurricane Floyd, so we managed to spend a couple of hours in the park and do every ride at Universal within 4 hours. It is a good job the first time we was here that we actually captured the globe going round, because it's not currently working today for some reason. But that of course is not the original. The original one now sits proudly outside Universal Studios Hollywood. So the silver and gold effect one, that one that you see there, actually used to sit in that spot there. Rachel just reminded me that when her parents come here for the first time, where we're walking now was simply a car park. You'd pull up to the gates and walk straight through. Even now, after coming to these parks for nearly 3 decades, the music gets to you as you start to walk your way through. This place that we absolutely love has certainly seen changes over the decades, and we just sort of bring together a few of our memories as we stroll around. We'll try and get on what we can. It's an extremely busy day today. So we're going to start our day off. Pretty much throughout the decades we've come here on a regular basis, but it wasn't the Today Cafe. It was like a Cyprus bakery, and they used to serve offerings from the Cheesecake Factory in here. They still have similar kind of stuff, but it's very, very themed nowadays. Such a beautiful landscape. Okay, first up guys, you're looking at obviously Despicable Me. That's now on its 3rd guise. Started off us with Scooby-Doo. That's where I got my first ever Scooby-Doo out of the gift store, because when we first came, that was the Adventures of Hanna-Barbera. You would be following in a spaceship trying to chase Elroy, the Jetsons, etc. You would encounter the Flintstones, Yogi Bear, of course Scooby-Doo. And that was about until the early millennium. Then it changed. What was the next one after that?
It was Jimmy Neutron.
Jimmy Neutron. I remember it with the llamas. It was terrible. Same ride, the whole ride itself. To be honest with you, if you want to go on that, it's where you want to find yourself a nice chubby buddy, because there's a lot of these rides where you've got a multiple waist drop bar. Now if you've got someone who's very, very slender and they yank that bar up, it's going to cut off your oxygen supply, which happens to us quite a bit, unfortunately. To the left of that, down the back, used to be the Nickelodeon Studios, infamous for the time of when it sort of stopped running, and Adam the Woo, along with going through the Triceratops encounter, got himself a ban at Universal for exploring it. That would have been there, just beyond the Rip Ride Rocket. And now what is VillainCon We remember coming here for the premiere, the grand opening of Shrek 4D, the ride. Before that, it was Alfred Hitchcock. You'd have the carousel, the rear window, a few experiences, and it'd show you how they created some of the magic of that genre. Just off to our left, which is the staging post, the area that they use for Halloween Horror Nights concerts, venue things, etc. And the entrance to Rip Ride Rockit. That used to be a boneyard. I remember, because I've got a love of Jaws, of course, there used to be the actual fin from the second movie, Jaws 2. That used to be in the lot. There used to be a lot of military vehicles. And this brings us up to something of the past that's sad for us. We absolutely loved Twister. Don't get me wrong, Jimmy Fallon's Race Through New York is a good ride, but a soundstage with Twister, being my second favourite movie of all time, really hit the spot. I loved Esmu, the flying cow, the pickup truck, everything about it. Now, I'm led to believe that before all of that, you used to have Ghostbusters in this area. I'm not 100% sure, you've still got the New York skyline behind it. So if anyone can vouch for that, whether that's true or not, but that's what I remember from this area. The parent company of Universal, Comcast, sitting proudly up there, and that's the first inkling we had back in the UK that Universal Studios was about to create something. Of course, they've purchased the land, and that's about as far as we've got, but we're probably within the next 6 months of a decision being made, and from the interviews I've seen and all the information, it looks positive, so we're going in the right direction. Of course, it's the immortal words of the now departed, no longer with us, Bill Paxton, as you exited the ride. Thank you, surviving Twister. Now gather up your belongings, enjoy the rest of your day here at Universal Orlando. Coming up immediately on our left now, you've now got the Mummy ride. It was pretty much the start of when Universal started doing some really extreme coasters. Some people say, oh, it's a bit tame and whatever. If you're not a coaster person, it is a bit over the top. I've done it probably a handful of times, never really enjoyed it, but what was there is its predecessor, Confrontation. That was simply outstanding. You would queue up through the subway system and then get yourself on a tram and then follow your way around the destruction that Kong had caused, and then at some point Kong would pick up your tram, shake it around, and then you'd loop round a corner and come face to face with a beast himself, old Banana Breath. It's not a myth, he did have a quite whiff of bananas, but he was cool back in the day. I certainly miss it. Obviously it's set up for Halloween Horror Nights, which we was at maybe 2 nights ago. The temperature was really cold. Over here in front of us we have the Transformers ride. I've said before in the past that Spider-Man on the Island of Adventures is exactly the same track, it's just different theming inside. But before, long before that, that was a soundstage for Murder, She Wrote. The good thing about Universal is you've got all these quaint and quirky little side streets that you can walk through. Obviously these have been used in movies. They do pop videos here, scenes from all kinds of genre of movie, and it just carries on all the way around here. Used a lot in recent years also for the Halloween Horror Nights. I think it was some of the major suites was here. You had body parts all in there and brains and all sorts of things, all edible of course. You can certainly say Universal and of course Disney know how to make a ride. People waiting in line over there to meet the Scooby Gang, obviously our favourites, and we always get fantastic interactions with them. Sometimes they actually pinch Scooby and Scooby off our backs and put them on theirs. Now this is something that is really growing on me. I never used to like the Bourne Stuntacular. Problem is, I loved Terminator 2 3D Ride Through Time, but that has really grown on me, and it's probably, I don't know, pound for pound outweighs what the original ride was. Don't get me wrong, Terminator was brilliant, and we was fortunate enough to do the penultimate and the last show where they allowed you to video it, take photographs. You was all given a ticket stub to get in there. They allowed us to keep the 3D glasses, and also got a bobblehead as well, just as a little memento. But yeah, that's sort of taking off. It's pretty cool. Down here you got to have a character meets. On the corner at the bottom there, you've got the horror monster makeup show. That's been there forever and a day, to be honest with you. We know it so well, we could probably pretty much act in it. There was a store down here to your left that used to have all the old relics, all the old parts of rides, such as bits of Jaws. I remember the Flying Cow and Esmu from Twister were in there, and they're now owned from the guy that set up the Orlando Informer. Sit proudly in his house somewhere. There we go, there's some brilliant artifacts in there if you're into your horror genre, just before you go and see the show. Marilyn to our side there. You have the dancers going over to the streets of America. Have a side of the pond over there. There used to be an amphitheatre, and it used to have Beetlejuice's Graveyard Review. So you had Frankenstein. I think Dracula was involved in it, certainly the Wolfman, and it was like a band. And I think it was some of the members of NSYNC actually originally performed in it before they become famous. Got a lovely breeze blowing right now. You can always tell in the park, if it's a busy day, the length of wait time on ET. Currently at an hour, and it's become a firm favourite because it's one of the originals and the only one that's left. When you're reminiscing, you hunker on to your memories, and that's all that remains of the early years. Woody's Nut House coaster used to be sitting right here. All this has really just opened up in the last year. We could make our way through here last year on the way to some of the mazes of Halloween Horror Nights, but before that, to your left was a day in the park with Barney. It started off as a kiddie show, and then Barney would interrupt and all chaos was ensued. I never got to see it. I'm a bit old for that, sorry about that folks, but that's just the way it is. Now, main reason for us coming down here is just beyond this point, the path used to circle round, and up to the right hand side on a kind of a bank sort of slope, and you had the Hard Rock Cafe and the, well, Hard Rock Restaurant and Hotel in the distance. The older version one used to sit the Psycho House, Bates Motel. It was only here the first time I come in 1997, before then totally gone and demolished. Certainly nowadays this gives off more of a vibes of a kiddies character meet and greet. The theming's pretty cool though. This kind of reminds us of Epcot. Be honest with you, we probably see this show maybe a couple of times in a decade. It's been here for a heck of a long time, changed over the years. I think theme parks have changed so much over the years. Obviously, they got a bad rap for the likes of SeaWorld. But however, Universal and both Disney also had captive animals. Here it was orangutans and chimps that were kept in cages after they would do their show. Epcot obviously had your dolphins, which they are now in the process of moving out. But yeah, it's still kind of going strong. And then obviously from here we're in what is now Simpsons Land, but this was once Back to the Future. Yep, so we've still got the Jules Verne train and the DeLorean from Back to the Future. All of the Simpsons Land was added on over the years. Originally this was just a walk through to where you can see the ride there with Krusty outside it. Exactly the same form, it's just a different show and a different styling of the cars that you would sit in inside. But I remember if you sat in a back row, it was very, very bumpy and you would be swallowed by a T-Rex, and you'd have the characters in there, obviously Doc Brown, Marty, Biff, and that was Back to the Future. It's kind of got to a point now where The Simpsons has run out of steam. It's kind of cool. We do like Twirl and Hurl. Yeah, it gives off like the carnival vibes around here of a fairground. The queue can be astronomical at times, but it is all pretty entertaining. Not currently showing a wait time. Does that mean it's down? That's generally what happens, but there are people queuing up, or maybe the wait time is so long that they can't fit the numbers on. Now MIB over here, Men in Black, this has always been Men in Black since it arrived. I believe it was here when we got married in '99. If not, it was certainly 2001. Basically sit on ride, laser blaster in hand, go around, shoot the aliens and try and win the suit. But 9 times out of 10 we ended up as bug bait and the old nebulizer come out. To this date we've never been lucky, but they do an immigration tour. It's all down to how many staff they have on the day. If they've got any spare ones, you can go below and walk around the reception area, which always looks pretty cool from up above. Now, this time of year, this is currently used for the Nighttime Fuel Nocturnal Circus Halloween Horror Night show. Best one ever to come out of there, in our opinion, is the Academy of Villains. During the daytime, I remember a Western show there years and years ago, and also Fear Factor Live. I remember they had cars hanging and they were shooting tennis balls at people, and they had those really disgusting, I guess they probably weren't, they were probably milkshakes that they got people to down, and they turned around and said it was full of squid and all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. But I really can't see, I know people did sign waivers, can't see people deliberately making themselves ill for entertainment. They would put live scorpions on people's heads in jars and that kind of thing. People simply love this area we're coming to here, but it fills me with sadness and regret. Toilets are still there, identical to what they were back in the day, but what is now Harry Potter, you see the fountain there. A said creature is supposed to be, his remains lay beneath that, and that is, of course, this area was known as Amity, and the famous Jaws ride used to be right here. So many fond memories of Captain Jack's Amity boat tours, going around there chased by Bruce the Shark out of Jaws, my favourite movie of all time, of course. And it did have its problems over the years, kept breaking down, but it was lovely to get soaking wet on a really hot day here. Some fabulous souvenirs I've had over the years from it, and all we do now is get to have a little bit of remembrance from Bruce the Shark that hangs around. We'll come and say hello in a bit round the back of Chez Alcatraz. He used to sit pretty much in this area, and you'd queue up and there would be like a pre-show on little TV screens with basically a puppet shark turning around and saying that he wasn't responsible, and it was kind of cool. You had a hanging little shark in there and the sign turning around and saying $3,000, I think it was, for the capture of the shark that killed Alex Kintner. And there are little Easter eggs around here that depict where Jaws was. And if I go and find one over here in the window of the record shop. So you go along, you look at the records, and you turn around and say, here's the Swimming with Bow-Legged Women, the Quint trio. Obviously Quint, the fisherman from Jaws. And then it says other things like Amity, Crab Shack, etc. all around this area. It was like 4th of July celebration, had like hoopla and someone guessing people's age and weight and the giant hammer to ring the bell. The sort of county fair sort of thing going on. And then you went on the ride and the rest is history. Apart from that, there's one more ride from which, when I turn around and say at the end of my vlogs, I'll see you in the movies, it all stems back to here. Now the ride that's here now, the Fast and the Furious, has never really taken on in anyone's opinion. Before that it was a ride called Disaster starring you, but the original, the best, was Earthquake. And as you would have the pre-part of the ride, they would show you scenery of the city when they done the Earthquake movie, the making of the little waste baskets, the skyline, etc. And you get ready to do the show and people would supposedly abseil over a stairwell. It was narrated and you see on screen one Charlton Heston, and it was his words, "I'll see you in the movies," that I always remember. And I always say it at the end of my vlog, because at the end of the day he's now gone. One day, could be soon, could be later, I'll be gone and this will be all that remains. So we're in this vlog now by going to say hello to a good old friend. He is probably working this evening, but this is where you will find the legend that is Murph. And of course you would get the famed Ocean Attack drink, which is, it's very much like drinking an extremely strong Malibu. And he does all the theatrical stuff with a puppet and the shark on his hand and adds the blood and goes chomp 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 at the end. And there he is, right there, my good old buddy Bruce, aka Jaws. And that's where we end. Right guys, that's going to do it for the vlog. I hope you've enjoyed it and got a bit of knowledge out of it. Some cases I might be slightly off key, maybe wrong with dates, etc. But that's pretty much the cusp of it. That's what was here, and the universal that we remember and love. We still certainly love this park as it is nowadays. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the movies. Bye for now.